Hi, this is Osman. I'm an energy healer, yoga and meditation teacher, and an entrepreneur. Please also remember to visit my website, yogawellness786.com, for more resources, a list of my services, and discussion on current trending topics in leading media of today from an ancient yoga sciences perspective and how it's applicable in current day problems. And also remember that our therapies or my therapies are natural therapies and not a replacement for medical treatment. If you have a medical condition, please consult a qualified and registered medical professional, and do not use this as a replacement for that. Okay, so my treatment is and therapies and lifestyle, recommendations are to enhance your body's capacity to improve its capability to fight illnesses that you're fighting with. And yes, I also do energy healing, which is very powerful in supplementing or complementing regular medical therapy. Right? It is totally irresponsible to abandon medical therapy. So that being said, I wanted to discuss a topic which generally is not openly discussed, and but I'll put the question out there: Can Muslims practice yoga and meditation? And of course, the majority opinion, and from what I've heard, and most of the scholars that I heard, right, that I came across, that it is completely forbidden for a Muslim to practice yoga and meditation. Not only am I a Muslim, and not only do I practice yoga and meditation, I'm teaching it, and I'm also on an advanced level, and I'm practicing it for over 5 decades. I mean, close on to 5 decades, and also an energy healer, right? Can that even brings a second question? If we you know if by some method he can practice yoga and meditation, right? If I bring some justification, but isn't it a major sin to practice energy healing? Am I taking the role of God, right? And is this, am I trying to be a partner to God, and am I not an apostate to the religion, right? Or worshipping, and following the practices of the multi deity worshippers, right? Or am I not mimicking the Hindus? Because yoga, of course, it comes from Hinduism, right? I do not believe the source is totally. I believe Hindu culture preserved a form of yoga, right? And the term yoga is coined by them, right? Or is popularized by them, right? By the Hindu culture. So of course I'm practicing it, I'm teaching it, means I do not believe, right? So how am I justifying as a Muslim? Do I believe I'm a Muslim? So there are three levels of Muslims, right? So there are the Muslims who just call themselves Muslim because they have a belief in the faith, and they believe, in the fundamental attestation to be a Muslim. The fundament is that they have to believe that there's only one God, and that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, is a prophet and a messenger of God. This, if you believe that, you're a Muslim, right? Then they do every other thing. They're going to nightclubs. They are consuming alcohol. They're doing what Muslims not supposed to be doing. They're engaging in illicit sexual relations, casual sexual relations, and drugs, and cheating, and murdering, killing, crime. There's crime, criminals. It doesn't mean a religion is a criminal. Every religion is just a human nature that there are criminals. It's part of humans, that part of the human population is going to be criminals, right? So you can't generalize, that way. So the basic number one is Muslim, right? This is the majority, or a large proportion of Muslims are that, right? Then you get the second level of Muslim. Of course, I'm level one as well, right? I'm Muslim level one. So am I level 2 Muslim as well? So not all level 1 Muslims are level 2, right? Level 2 is those who believe in all the um, restrictions and the requirements and the practices, very deeply. They understand it. So the majority of the Muslims who just believe they are Muslim, they don't even know what are all the restrictions and what are the required practices, right? They don't understand what's the differences. They don't even understand which sect of Islam that they're following, and they believe no, there's only one Islam, and you know what? But there's difference because there's jurisprudence or interpretations of what time to break the fast, what time exactly should you open the fast, what time uh, you know um, uh, you should pray a certain prayer. Some believe at this hour, when the sun is descending, at this point is this hour of prayer, or when it's gone, at what time is the sunset prayer, is it at sunset or just after sunset, right? And so forth. So there's different interpretations and so forth, of the law. So they not so of course this means they don't have understanding of level 2, the prescriptions and the requirements, and to form their own opinion, which to their mind and their knowledge and their heart is the best practices for their situation and circumstances. So I wouldn't try to bring about a division and say there's so many sects and so many. So the sects came about because the religion spread out to different parts of the world, and the second circumstances and situations were different in those parts, and they didn't have access of internet and communication, to one leadership and one, method of practice for the finer details. And the broader practices are in agreement. All Muslims are practicing the broader tenets of the faith, equally, but just the law was different and applicable differently, because the part of the world is different, right? Especially when it comes to like fasting in the northern parts of the planet, where it's daylight for many months of the year. For example, in Norway. So how do you break your fast? Are you going to fast the whole 30 days because there's no sunset for 30 days? No, right? So the rules are different, right? As a common example. So not many people understand those levels. What are the requirements and of the faith, of the religion, right? Not only the practices, but also of the faith of the religion. They don't even know what is sinful and what is not sinful, right? And they just living their life according to how they want to live it, right? And doing the things what they want to do according to their mindset. And then yes, I spend time learning everything. I'm also level 2, right? And then you get the third level of Muslim who are practicing. They practice all the requirements that there must be these 5 prayers every day, and they avoid the major sins, right? And they know what are the major prohibitions, and they avoid the major prohibitions, and they practice the important major recommendations, right? On level 3 also, right? I'm practitioner of that as well. So not only am I just a Muslim, I am level 1, 2, 3, right? In terms of practicing Muslim, right? There's no perfect Muslim or anything, but I'm what I would say, not just a lipstick Muslim, and not someone who has some knowledge of Islam, what is right and wrong, but also one who practices, a practicing Muslim, right? And I'm the one who's teaching yoga, practicing yoga, and practicing meditation. So in the religion and in common sense, right? Let's talk about common sense and leaving religion aside. Something which is good for you if you are feeling cold, right? I'm could see dressed very warmly. It's winter. It's around 5 degrees, degrees Celsius, and I'm dressed warmly, right? Because I'm feeling cold, and it makes sense. If I put warm clothing, it comforts me, right? So it's bringing about a positive result for me to dress warmly. So does it mean that I should not do this? Because in my religion, it's not stating specifically which verse in the Quran or which hadith says that when it's cold, you must dress warmly. I don't know, maybe perhaps it's there. I've read a lot of the hadith, but it's common sense things, right? To dress warmly, and when it's very hot, to not dress warmly. It's going to be harmful to you, right? So there's been now over 50,000 scientific studies and experiments and results showing the positive influences of certain aspects of yoga and meditation, especially when it comes to mindfulness meditation and the yoga postures, as well as observances of having wholesome foods in your diet, right, which is recommended by the thing, and in breath work, practice of certain breath work, right, that this is positive for your health. So why should I not embrace that which is positive from so my yoga channel, and especially my website is called Yoga Wellness 786.com, right? So I didn't say yoga, right? I said yoga wellness, right? So I'm looking at yoga not from a tantric perspective and not from a worshipful or religious perspective, or enhancing my religion, because I don't feel I need yoga to do that, but from enhancing wellness perspective. So yoga can be applied not only from a religious perspective and a wellness perspective, but also from a military perspective. Enhance military capacity, right? That's what it was used in the ancient times, and that's why a lot of it is secret, right? Especially in the Far East cultures, it was for many decades forbidden completely, right? The practice of Qigong Energy Healing and so forth, right? Those sciences were forbidden because they involve secrets in peak performance and in military applications, right? And deviating people from obeying the commands of the current rulers of the time as well. The current rulers didn't want to be threatened in independent thinkers. They didn't want people to evolve the thinking, right? So it's also a practice to focus on evolving your thinking and intellectual capacity, or your creativity, or also to improve your sports performance, or to improve your business performance and your financial success, right? It can be used that way as well. So can a Muslim practice yoga and meditation? Not every aspect of it, not to go and worship, and recite incantations that are geared to as a worship. You can practice incantations where it's going to bring about certain scientific result, right? But not as a worship, as a god, or where you are worshipping as an aspect of God or part of God or his energies. This is not recommended, in Islam, from Islamic perspective. Not that I'm stopping, anyone from doing that, right? But I'm not doing that. I'm doing it more from a wellness perspective and a healing perspective. So I found a scientific way to increase and control my life force energy, and transfer a part of my energy to someone who's sick, so much so that I risk losing my life, because I'm playing with my life force. I risk losing my life. Is it forbidden for me to risk my life? Is that not same as killing myself or committing suicide? But very clearly in the Islam, so I'm just talking from a Muslim perspective. I'm not trying to propagate any particular religion or Islam, just from my perspective to answer this question, right? From academic perspective. So from the Islamic perspective, it's written, in the Quran that if you save a life, is equivalent to saving the whole of mankind. And if you kill a life, also proportionately, right? If you kill a life, it's as though you killed all of mankind. It's a very big sin to take a life, right? And I stand very strongly by this view. And I find it is a massive blessing for me to get the opportunity to save lives, and if I have to die in one of those occasions, saving one of those lives, it's a proud death. I'm proud to die that I saved a life. Even if it is, I saved it for a short while, right? Even if other people feel it's not worthy That person is not worthy of his life being saved. Who is that? Who are we to judge whose life is worthy and whose life is not worthy? It's a human life. The human, if it's possible for me to save someone's life and the person needs saving, and I know I have the ability to do it, isn't it my responsibility to do that, right? So can Muslims practice yoga and meditations? From my perspective, a resounding yes, right? With limitations, of course, right? But not massive limitations, right? And I don't consider myself, a non-Muslim, and I don't consider myself as having fallen out of the fold of Islam. In fact, I consider myself on the fraction of a percentage of the practicing Muslims of the total Muslim population, right? Of the total Muslim population, those that are practicing Muslims are possibly a fraction of a percentage, not even single digit in practice, in my opinion, right? From what I've observed, from the communities and living in Muslim countries, for decades, right? So can a Muslim? I think I've answered the question, right? So feel free to, and be sure to visit my website, yogawellness786.com, and where you can connect with me and get more resources and discussions on current trending subject matters from an ancient sciences perspective, and that which is discussed currently in leading media sources, right, from my perspective. And you can gather valuable insights. And most important of all, remember to take care of yourself always.